All right, good afternoon. Exciting week. We know we have our big rival game this week versus Kentucky. We're looking forward to that, excited about that. Going back this past weekend, going back and looking at that, offensively, one of our better offensive outputs on the season. I think our guys, did some big-time plays in the passing game and then really established the run this past week. Really proud of that. Defensively, not a great effort on that side of the ball. Didn't tackle well, didn't fit well. But our guys rose up when they needed to, particularly there in the fourth quarter with those two big fourth down stops. I think obviously preserved the game for us. But, I think proud of the fact of how we battled in the ACC play, looking back on it, 5-3 record. Obviously wasn't picked anywhere near that, but glad of the way the guys performed this year with that. And, we got a lot of things we can grow from and continue to develop and continue to get better. So we're, again, looking forward to this week.
Coach, when you look back at the film from Saturday on defense, how much of it was – it seemed like a lot of missed tackles. How much of it was that, and how disappointing this time of the year to have that? Yeah,
it's disappointing the missed tackles. There's no question about it. It was, we didn't fit particularly well either in the run game. I think that was another thing that was disappointing. Guys getting out of their gaps and, and their guys able to get some rushing yards. Mo Neal's a good back, runs hard, but when you're not fitting right, it's pretty easy to have, to get some big yards there. But but then also guys, when we did fit right, we didn't make the tackle. We got guys right there at the point of attack. They got to get them down, and we were not able to do that. And that's we got to get better. Got to continue to work on that, work on tackling, and get better at that aspect.
Coach, I know that's always a point of emphasis, but is that an even higher point of emphasis, knowing how well Kentucky runs the ball this year?
Oh, absolutely. It's outstanding rushing football team that we're getting ready to play here with some good backs. Obviously, one of the better athletes we'll face, the one that's playing quarterback now. He's outstanding athlete. It's been pretty amazing to see. You take a guy who's been a wide receiver and put him at quarterback, and they've still been very effective moving the football. Is the way they're doing it, playing good defense, controlling the clock. Just old school running the football, and it's produced them some good wins. And what they did, the last couple weeks in particularly, really, not throwing the football very much at all, but and teams knowing that and still can't stop it. That's pretty impressive.
Scott, when you were at App State, who was your primary rival? And since you've been here, what are some things you've learned about the rivalry with Kentucky?
We were there. Georgia Southern was our big rival team. We made the jump together. I think we first started playing maybe in '93, and so it's over the years. And I think then we were competing for championships, and we made the jump into Sun Belt, and they won the Sun Belt, and of course then we won some. So it was always seemed like whoever won that game had an opportunity to win the championship. So that was a big rivalry game for us. And then since being here, I think that was pretty early on indicated that we needed to win that game against Kentucky. Obviously we're in the state of Kentucky, and the two big schools in this state competing. And I don't care what you're playing. My first game was at the Yum back in December when Kentucky came over to play in basketball. It was a big time atmosphere. It was awesome. And then I've met a lot of people that have come up to me that say, I'm a Kentucky fan, but we like what you're doing here at Louisville until we play you. Then we won't like you. But yeah, so it's been interesting over the last 10, 11 months to see how much passion there is between the two schools, and obviously great competition.
Coach, how's Russ East?
He's doing fine now. He hurt his leg there, a couple of different things with it, but he'll be out. He'll be out this week, and actually had a procedure done yesterday, so he's in recovery now.
Any other details, like what type of injury it is?
I don't want to speak on that. I think it was something involved with his knee there.
Scott, just follow up on Jody's question about defense. How much improvement can you make in a short period of time like this when you've had 3 months and defense is still struggling?
I don't think you're going to make a ton of improvement between in a course of a week. we have to just do some things as coaches. What can we do to help our guys and put them in better positions to make plays? We better be where we need to be as far as gap integrity versus these guys. They'll certainly make you pay if you don't. They're going to put pressure on you. Obviously we got to have everybody available there to make tackles around the running game. What that's going to do is put obviously more pressure on our outside guys, because you're probably going to be a little bit more one-on-one matchups on the outside just because you're trying to defend the run. But it comes back to fundamentally, sinking your hips and wrapping up and holding on tight, until the other guys can get there to get these guys down. So, we'll emphasize it again this week, and hopefully the guys will do a better job when we come out on Saturday.
Des Fitzpatrick tweeted out that he was signing off social media for the week. Is that something you'd ever enforce, or will you allow your players to kind of make their own decision on that?
No, we just talked about it on Sunday. They can be on social media. We don't want to get involved with any kind of chatter back and forth out in social media. That's not going to help us win. I mean, the things that we talked about on Sunday is what can we do to help us win this football game, and I think it's in your preparation. It's focusing on what you got to do on a daily basis, getting ready at practice, watching film, all those things. The chatter on social media doesn't help you win any football games. I mean, I think there's nothing about it that will help you win, so we don't need to do it. I think that's where that came from.
When you look at Kentucky's defense, what kind of challenges do they present to your offense?
Their defense, well, number one, really big up front and a lot of length. I think that's the first thing that stands out when you look at their front seven. They're a 3-4 defense, so their three linemen up front are all long and heavy, big bodies, and then before their linebackers are all over 220. So they have a lot of size up front. They've done a great job. One of the better pass defensive teams in the country, and I think they're ranked 10th maybe in pass defense, but they do a really good job of keeping everything in front of them. They haven't given up very many big plays. And as we all know, that's one thing we've been able to do offensively is get a lot of big plays, but they've limited everybody in that realm. They do a good job of getting their safety and their corners back, and then their linebackers are where they're supposed to be in their drops. And I think it makes it hard. You have to really earn your yardage in the throw game. And then their length presents problems up front, their length and their size in the run game. So, we're coming up with our game plan now, and but it makes it difficult and to find ways to be able to move the football. One thing that's been very impressive is the fact that no one has scored over 30 points in a long time, maybe a year and a half. And I think Florida this year had the most points, and that was 29. And actually Florida had made a rallied in the fourth quarter to go win that game. They were down a couple of touchdowns heading into the fourth quarter. So their defense presents a lot of problems, and what they're doing running the football, that's why they've been effective this year.
What are the challenges? They've been fairly one-dimensional, but what are the challenges of stopping their running game if you don't have to worry about the pass?
Well, because they're utilizing essentially the Q run is one extra gap that you have to defend, and I think, anytime that happens, if you just have a running back and the quarterback's not a threat running the football, then you can really sell out wherever that running back goes. But now what they're doing is kind of splitting the defense in half. The running back goes one way, the quarterback goes the other, and you have to have guys on both sides. So it creates more gaps that you have to defend, and then there's a little bit more space. And they're good enough athletes to make you miss in space. And, I think all the while, they do keep you honest in the throw game. They don't throw it much, but they do keep you honest with a lot of vertical routes. And so you have to make sure you have your guys covering their receivers. So, I mean, that's what presents the problems. And they're such good athletes at those running positions.
Early on, you were pretty positive about Hassan Hall, and then by the time fall got here, Javian Hawkins is the starter, and he's had a great season, record-setting season. What is it about him that sort of fits what you guys do running the ball?
Well, I mean, he's got a knack for finding those holes within our zone scheme, and then he's a powerful runner. We've mentioned that he's not very big, but he's very strong, compact back. He runs with a chip on his shoulder at all times. Several of those runs the other night broke tackles, whether it was spin off, one in particular, the big long touchdown run, about a 50-yard run, where they kind of had it hemmed up, and he just refused to go down. And I think and he gets opportunity. I think that's the other thing. We know that we're going to give him the ball, and all our backs we're going to carry the football. And when they get their opportunities, then they got to make the most of it. But I tell you, the other thing is the guys up front have blocked well, tight ends have blocked well, and the receivers. There's so many of these long runs where you go and you look, and our receiver, Des Fitzpatrick's down the field blocking, or Seth Dawkins on Hawkins' big run. Haycraft is 30 yards down the field and pinning a safety. I mean, those type blocks are incredible, and they spring, for those big runs and those big long touchdown runs. And so I thought in the second half, Hawkins just did a great job. We were committed to run the football more in the second half and try to keep their offense off the field, and we were able to turn out those kind of yards, and particularly that last drive, the 94-yard drive that we had with 6.5 minutes on the clock. That was huge. We melted, I think, maybe 5.5 minutes, and he did the bulk of the damage on that drive.
When you look back to February and the group of backs that you had in spring, could you have imagined these guys having those kind of seasons like Hall and Hawkins? I mean, what did you think of the group as a whole?
Yeah, I think, we thought that those two guys in particular would probably be our two guys. They were the most explosive backs we had. We had some size. We had some other backs that were bigger, but those guys were explosive. And, coming into the fall, we thought Hassan maybe be the guy. He gets dinged up a little bit, and Hawkins kind of played a little bit better. And we knew we had both of them. It was going to take both of them also this year. And, just so happens that Hawkins just had a great year and turned it on right from the start, Notre Dame game, and going over 100 yards in that first game. And we felt like at that point, man, we've got something there in Hawkins, and he's kind of shown that to be true. And had a breakout game this past weekend. Now he's sitting there close to 1,300 yards. With maybe a couple more games to go. So he's had a special year, no question about it. He's a freshman, particularly for a freshman, a really, really special year. And but really overall, I mean, for just any running back, he's had a special year. And we've kind of leaned on that, and then we've leaned on the big play. You put those two together, and it's been a great combination. I think, we're sitting here at number 2 in the ACC in scoring offense, and I don't think anybody would have thought that starting this year.
You just mentioned the big play, talking with how big they are up front. How important is it when you kind of take the top off, get some of those big pass plays?
Yeah, it's going to have to be calculated because of the fact of, how they try to get back and not give you anything back there. So we're going to try to find some ways maybe to make that happen. But we do need to do it. We got to back them up a little bit so we can, obviously get that running game going. That's going to be the challenge in the cat and mouse game as we go forward this game.
We were running the clock to when you first got here through spring and fall camp. There was that discussion who's going to be the starting quarterback. Mikhail's obviously become one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the country. Just talk a little bit about his progression from day one to now.
Yeah, it's interesting because day 3 at camp he gets hurt, so you don't even have him all of August. You get 25 practices before your first game, and he doesn't get any of those, and which is bad obviously because we're one of those guys to compete with Puma and Cunningham to be competing there, and so then you have Puma and you have Evan, a freshman. They're trying to compete, and so really you didn't get Cunningham back until EKU. Kind of back. He still wasn't full healthy. And then Puma goes down, and now Cunningham's got to go. And so, I just thought it was kind of learn on the job kind of training for him, because once he got in there, he'd play well, but then he was inconsistent, made some mistakes, and then, of course, Evan gets in and makes some good plays, and you're kind of playing both of them. But over the last few weeks, he's kind of just settled in and really, had a good feel for what we're trying to do offensively. The last 2 games, incredible 2 games back-to-back, what he's been able to accomplish, 6 touchdowns this weekend. What do you have, 4 touchdown passes the week prior? So he's really settled in and played well, and proud of him and the way he's developed, and really because early on it was a little bit more inconsistent. And the one thing about it that's kind of been surprising to me is how accurate he is. I mean, he's an accurate passer, and maybe throws one of the better deep balls of anybody out there. If you go back and look at some of these throws, to me it started back at Western Kentucky. He threw a post route to Tutu on that post, and Tutu's not open when he throws it. He just puts some air under it, and he's able to go get it. He did another one, that 90-yard one Saturday was the same way. The defender's behind Tutu, and he lobs it out there, and he goes and gets it. And so those are not easy throws. Those are great touch ball that you have to put the right arc on and throw it in the right spot so that our guy can go get it. So he's done very well in that regard, and I'm really proud of the way he's played. He's, like you mentioned, I think he's 4th in the country in passing efficiency if he just doesn't have enough attempts.
Since you've been here, have you found that they're one of the schools that you recruit against a lot or less than you imagined? Or
Kentucky?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to recruit against them a lot, probably. In this state for sure, and then even in our footprint, you're going to recruit against them. It seems like most of the guys that we've kind of tried to target, they've kind of at some point been on them, and I'm sure that's not going to change. I mean, we're sitting right here, very close to each other, and you're going to be trying to go after some of the same kids, and it's just a matter of fit for the guys, the recruits. What kind of program they want to be a part of. That's really what it comes down to.
Coach, without Russ, Jack has played a lot of snaps this year. Would he be it? And I guess who else in that position back there at safety? Because I know you are thin there.
Yeah, Isaiah, will probably give us some more depth right there. Jack, Kane, those three really, and we'll kind of cross-train those guys, because you got two safety positions. So they'll really all three will have to know both positions there, and you kind of rotate those three around, and, hopefully they stay healthy on Saturday.
Was Isaiah – he's played a lot lately.
Mm-hmm.
Was he hurt early in the year in the progression that you've seen with him?
Yeah, he did. He had a hamstring early on and probably missed maybe 4 to 5 weeks really with that hamstring. And so that's time missed, with reps, a little bit just like Cunningham, so very similar. So, and then the last month, he's gotten a lot more actions, played on some special teams, played some defense, getting a better feel for everything. He's a smart player, so he understands kind of what we're doing. So his number will certainly get called this week, and he'll have to play, obviously, probably the biggest role he's had all season.
You mentioned that going to the UK Louisville basketball game when you came here. Was it similar, almost a sense right away you knew what this series was going to be about when you kind of saw that atmosphere and that type of crowd?
Yeah, and I grew up in Durham. I've seen the Carolina Duke rivalry there, and then when you get here, and then I went to Toledo one year and I recognized the Ohio State Michigan rivalry, and then you come to Louisville and obviously the Kentucky Louisville rivalry, and that was a great atmosphere in that game, and you just get a good sense of how it's going to be, and then. For me, I'm just kind of learning of how it always goes. And I figured they played twice in basketball. They only played once. And I guess it's like that in most of the sports. So you get one opportunity and one shot, for bragging rights throughout the year. And I think that's probably the biggest thing is because we both, obviously Kentucky and us, we're in this state. And every time you go out in town, you're going to be around potentially the other fan base. And you always want bragging rights. So I think it makes for a good off season, whoever can win this game.
You probably heard the story if you were in Toledo about the blowout of Ohio State against Michigan. Somebody asked Woody Hayes why he went for 2, and he said, because I couldn't go for 3. Do you think animosity has any value in these rivalries? Do you want your guys to dislike Kentucky, or do you feed on that at all?
I don't know. I think sometimes you can get so caught up in that you lose the sight of what you have to do and what your job is to go out and play well at whatever your position. And I kind of saw that a little bit with our rivalry at App and Georgia Southern. Sometimes some of the games, we won a lot of those games, but sometimes you get so caught up in the hype of the game that you forget about my job is to block and tackle and throw and catch. And, to me, you have to focus on that. You have to and it's not just another game. I mean, we understand it's bigger than that. It's the rivalry game. It's bragging rights. There's a lot of things involved with it, but you can't lose the fact of what you have to do. You have to prepare the best you can, like you do for all the other games, and then go out and perform at a high level. So, you just got to stay in the moment and not get caught up in all the hype.
Coach, it's easy to see the stats that Hawk is having a good year and Atwell's having a good year. But how do you guys as a staff determine, obviously we know Mekhi Becton's having a good year.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you guys see that you guys can put that into contextual, to give it context, I guess?
To give context, what maybe
how well Mekhi's playing.
Yeah, you just kind of go and look at just the overall body of work that he's been able to accomplish. And obviously you have stats that they look at up front as far as missed assignments, pins, pancakes, all those type things. You also, for us is looking at where we're running the football, where we're headed with the ball. A lot of times we're over there on that side, just like we were Saturday night in that last drive. I think every ball went over there. He's playing he played at a different level Saturday night. There's no question about it, and was inspired and really got after it. But you can kind of see that throughout this whole season, how he's finishing blocks. The last half of the season, I mean, he's trying to go after guys after the initial block early in the season, one and done, but he's gotten better and better and better with that. It's been fun to see, fun to watch, fun to see the joy on his face, the way he plays, and that's contagious as well for the other guys.
And to clarify about Russ, obviously you said he'll be out this weekend, but do you think he'll be available for the bowl game?
That's going to be in question, but today I would say probably not. He'll certainly be ready for spring practice. It's not one of these deals where he's going to be out 6 to 8 months. I mean, but you're looking at about a month from now, so that'd be tough I think for him to make it. I would say probably not, but we'll see how it goes over the next couple of weeks.
Curious as to what you think about your counterpart, Coach Stoops, whether you guys have a relationship, and what do you think about the job that he's done there at Kentucky?
Yeah, I really don't have a relationship with him, really don't know him, but he's done a great job there. Obviously, last year, what did they win? 10 games last year, had a great season, and what he's been able to accomplish there has been really, really good. Got a lot of respect for what he's been able to do and accomplish there, and for what way his program is. And but I don't know him personally. I just that's what I've seen. I know when he got there and what he's been able to do the first couple of years, didn't win as many games, and then to build that up to a 10-win season, you got to respect that of what they've been able to accomplish.
How much have you come to appreciate the ACC this year? The competition level, and looking at where you finished, how much more do you feel like you have to maybe uphold the league's stature in a game like that going against an SEC school?
Well, yeah, I mean, the ACC kind of national perspective, people said the ACC was down. Clemson obviously is one of the best teams in the country. A lot of teams, I think they're pretty daggone good, really. I mean, it's you're beating up on each other a little bit, and that's hard. It's hard to maintain that level of play every single Saturday. I think that's why that's kind of happened, with the league play, but yeah, I agree. I think it's big for the ACC when you can go out of conference and go get you a big win. I mean, there's no question about it. I think as you look back on a body of work, that's huge for our conference and our league. We got to be able to do that. And particularly when you're going against an SEC school, I think that's big as well, because you're always getting compared to an SEC program.
Whose job is it to simulate Bowden in practice this week?
Man, that's a good question. We're going to probably get a wide receiver, a couple of wide receivers. Probably just won't be one person. We'll probably get a couple guys that have been playing wide receiver on that end of the field that can run around and put them at quarterback, and let him and do that. We don't have anybody that can do it. I mean, quite honestly, it's all going to be about fitting right anyway, and tackling. And you work on tackling through apparatuses. The different dummies that we have, not actually kids. So yeah, we'll just have to simulate that and really simulate the game speed. But you're not going to get that until you get out there on Saturday afternoon.
This is your first one of these games, and this is rivalry weekend for everybody. But when this series started, it was the first game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
It was that way for, 10, 15 years. Do you like it either way? Are you fine with it the last game, or would you like to see it the first game?
Well, I mean, really, it doesn't matter to me. I think it is where it's at. I think probably at the beginning of the season, you probably get more hype with the game. Everybody's excited because you haven't played a football game. Everybody can't wait the football season to hit, so you're going to get a bigger crowd, probably more excitement surrounding that game. At the end of the season, it's Thanksgiving weekend. Teams are kind of what they are at that point in the season. Probably there's excitement here. We all know that. But it's rivalry weekend. It's all across the country that way. But students are gone. They're going for Thanksgiving break. So for all those reasons, I think there's probably more hype at the beginning. But it doesn't matter when you play. I mean, whenever you're playing your rival, it's going to be intense. There's going to be a lot of excitement there, and regardless. And you got to go out and play your best ball. All right. Thanks, guys.